Let's start with the basics here. The way we experience love as adults is like a blueprint that was drawn up when we were kids. And if you grow up in an environment where love felt conditional, scarce, or just plain inconsistent, you developed this acute sensitivity to emotional cues that follows you everywhere you go. Think about it like this. If you grew up never knowing when the next meal was coming, you probably become really good at spotting any sign of food, right? The same thing happens with emotional nourishment. When love was hard to come by, you learn to become hyper aware of every emotional signal. This isn't just being oversensitive. It's actually a survival skill that your brain developed to help you navigate emotional scarcity. You become like an emotional detective, always scanning for clues about whether you're loved, whether you're safe, whether you matter. And honestly, that takes a lot of energy. But here's the thing. What helped you survive as a kid may be holding you back as an adult. Now, if this resonates with you, you probably know what I'm talking about when I say you've become an emotional archaeologist. You're constantly digging for meaning in the smallest gestures. A quick text response becomes proof that someone cares. A remembered birthday feels like the deepest expression of love. A moment where someone gives you their full attention, that feels like everything. You've developed this extraordinary ability to sustain yourself on what I call minimal emotional nourishment. You can find deep significance in interactions that other people may consider totally routine. In some ways, this is actually a superpower. You notice things others miss. You appreciate gestures that others take for granted. You can find love in the smallest moments. And here's where it gets tricky. This same sensitivity that helps you detect traces of love can actually work against you. You may find yourself over-investing in casual relationships because someone showed you basic kindness. You may be constantly anticipating abandonment, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. You may feel profound gratitude for what should be considered normal, healthy behavior in relationships. Here's the wild part though, and this may hit close to home. The same people who are so good at detecting tiny traces of love often struggle to recognize and accept more direct expressions of affection. It's like your emotional language was formed in scarcity. So when abundance shows up, it feels foreign, maybe even threatening. Think about it. If someone offers you unconditional love, your brain may go, wait, what's the catch? You may question its authenticity or wait for conditions to be attached because that's not the love language you learned growing up. You learned that love had to be earned, that it came with strings attached, that it could disappear at any moment. So when someone shows up offering steady, consistent, no strings attached love, it can actually feel scarier than the conditional love you're used to. Your brain doesn't know how to process it. It's like being handed a meal when you're used to scrapping for crumbs. It feels too good to be true. This shows up in relationships in so many ways. Maybe you're afraid to ask directly for your emotional needs to be met because you learned that having needs make you a burden. Maybe you're constantly analyzing text messages for hidden meaning instead of just taking them at face value. Maybe you're always braced for rejection, even in loving relationships. I want to pause here and say something really important. These patterns, they're not character flaws. They're not weaknesses. They're adaptive responses to early emotional deprivation. Your younger self did what they had to do to survive and find love in an environment where it was scarce. The hypervigilance, the tendencies to overanalyze, the deep gratitude for basic kindness. These were all intelligent responses to your environment. They helped you navigate a world where love felt uncertain. But now, as an adult, you get to choose whether these patterns still serve you. Understand this can be the first step toward healing. It's about recognizing that while your ability to find meaning in small gestures is actually pretty amazing, it shouldn't have to be a survival skill. You shouldn't have to work so hard to feel loved and secure. So where do we go from here? The journey from emotional scarcity to abundance isn't just about receiving more love, though that's part of it. It's about learning to trust that love can be steady, unconditional, and freely given. It's about rewriting your brain to accept that you're worthy of love just as you are, not because what you do or how perfectly you behave. This may mean learning to sit with the discomfort of direct affection. It may mean practicing asking for what you need instead of hoping someone will figure it out from subtle hints. It may mean challenging that voice in your head that says, "This is too good to be true," when someone treats you well. One of the biggest shifts is learning to trust your worth outside of other people's reactions to you. When you grew up in emotional scarcity, your sense of self-worth became tied to how others responded to you. But healing means learning that your value isn't dependent on someone else's ability to see it or express it. And here's something beautiful. As you heal, you don't lose that sensitivity that makes you so good at noticing love in small moments. You just learn that you don't have to survive on crumbs anymore. You can appreciate both the grand gestures and the tiny ones without needing to decode every interaction for survival information. The need for love isn't a weakness, and seeking it isn't shameful. It's deeply, fundamentally human. Your heart learned to love in scarcity, and it can learn to love in abundance too. You deserve relationships where love is freely given, not carefully rationed. You deserve to feel secure, to ask for what you need, and to trust that you're worthy of consistent, unconditional care. And that's it for today's episode. Remember, you're worthy of all the love you've been seeking. Thank you.